Yo, yo, yo. That's like a Santa Claus hello. But instead, it was like yo, yo, yo instead of ho, ho, ho. I just made that up. Was that original? Stupid? What do you think? I don't know. I thought it would be amazing. It'd be fun. It would be cool. But instead, it wasn't. I don't know. Sorry. What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining today. It is your favorite time of the week. Every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, and every Friday, I come to you to discuss my topic of the day. Today's topic, as you can see, it just takes a little bit of time, baby. I wanted to add that because I thought it'd be funny. But think about it, right? The people that you follow, the people that you watch, the things that you want to happen, as much as you want it to happen immediately, it's actually probably a good thing that it doesn't happen immediately because you can learn so much more from waiting, from learning, from figuring out what needs to happen. You know, I've said many times, take something in a bowl, think of it as a bowl of spaghetti, and take it and throw it against the wall and see what sticks. And if nothing sticks, well, then fill up another bowl of spaghetti and keep doing that until something does. And so I was listening, or I was having a conversation with someone. They were just like, I just want these results. I want them so quickly. And I'm like, well, what are you really doing to make sure that you can get those results? I think last week I said, if you're going to bed every night knowing that you put in everything that you need, then just keep doing that. But if you go to bed and you're like, I didn't really put that much effort into it, but you want amazing results, like, don't be foolish. It's just not going to happen. Think about the people that you follow the most, right? Who are the comedians or the actors or actresses, the celebrities, the athletes? You probably aren't thinking about them in the journey that it's taken them to get to where they are. Right? Oftentimes, it takes far longer than you think, right? Michael Phelps, right? He's now the most decorated Olympic athlete of all time. You think he did that overnight? No. It took a decade plus of time, right? The greatest, if you want to be the GOAT, it takes a long time. Sonia, how are you? If you want these results to happen, you have to do them over and over and over again. So think about this. How quickly have you done something, not got good results? You hear no, and then you quit. I remember a few years ago, we'd invested in a business and thought it had some promise, whatever. And this person went to a convention and someone was like, I really don't like the idea. It's stupid. And he basically threw in the towel right after that, by getting in front of just a handful of people. Like, if you want to start a business, like, it's not for the faint of heart, number one. But number two is, like, just because someone tells you no, this is my favorite quote from Damon John, just because someone tells you no doesn't mean that's a no. It just means no for now. What can you learn from that, right? When we talk about social reviews, what can you learn from that? Why do people say no? Is it just not the right time? Is it really because it needs to be a no? But, like, all too often, people quit way too soon, within weeks, days, sometimes months. And people ask me, Zack, why, what do you think has been one of the reasons why you've been successful? And I honestly believe it's because I haven't quit. I've done a lot of other things too, but all those things are building off of each other. And if I had decided to take the towel, and throw in the towel, what do you think was going to happen? I probably would not be where I am today, which is beautiful. And so many people are trying to figure out why isn't this happening? Like, yes, sometimes things happen quickly, right? But oftentimes it doesn't. I remember when we were doing our event Start Norfolk, and I was trying to figure out, okay, when was the last time we did this? And it's like 3.5, 4 years ago. Last time we did was in 2014. Occasionally someone asked me when we're going to do the next one. That first one, we did a decent job, right? 150 or so, 180 people showed up, 38 ideas were pitched, and it was fun. But at that point I realized, okay, the first one is like the allure of it. People are like, this is interesting. The second one has some momentum if the first one went well, but to really understand it is on the third time you do something. If that event can basically self-sustain itself or get a lot of momentum and people there, that's when you really know. Usually, like I went to an event on Friday, the first time they've done this, and there was a lot of people there, right? Could they do the second one? Maybe. But then the third one, it's all about that momentum and seeing how that happens. And so oftentimes you can get success immediately, but understanding can that success happen a second, a third, a fourth, or fifth time, that's really difficult. And what does success really mean? Ben, thanks. You're awesome. Looking forward to catching up this week. But I remember it was probably 2 to 4 weeks. This is back October of 2011, so 7 years ago. And I was thinking about doing this first event, Start Norfolk. It was supposed to be November 11th, 12th, and 13th. And we had only sold like a handful of tickets. But I knew it was a good concept. I just hadn't been busting my ass to get it out there. And I remember sitting there sleeping. I woke up in the middle of the night. I was probably like sweating, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I was like, we have to push through this and we have to make it happen. Ultimately, we continued. I think that next day I got a call from someone who was like, we want to help. And that really was a huge piece. Fast forward a few years, I tried putting on a national conference, actually very similar to Big Omaha, which is a fun conference in Omaha, which is where I met Ben Wallace. And I've looked back at this now, and it was actually going to be a good conference, right? It was in 2013 or 2014. It was called Drop Anchor. The content was great, but the marketing behind it was terrible, right? I said it was a conference for like entrepreneurs and startup community. What you don't realize is that no one cares about a startup community, right? As a guy who's preached that before, like no one cares about a startup community. What people care about are the businesses or how it's going to help you, and we didn't sell that, right? So sometimes taking that bowl of spaghetti, throwing it against the wall, you have to realize like what's working, what's not. In this specific case, I should have done a better job marketing to help people. Also probably should have done to some businesses. Probably entrepreneurship where I live was still fairly new. I was also trying to take one customer and make them another customer on something else. So I learned a lot in these cases. But I didn't throw in the towel. I might have quit or, the word I hate, failed on something, or just realized that it wasn't going to work. So this conference, I remember a very similar thing. It was actually at dinner with my girlfriend at the time, then became fiance, who now is my wife. I had this like, oh crap, we have this event coming up in like 3 weeks, and we've sold 30 tickets, and we need to sell like 600. Yes, that math is right. 30 tickets sold, 600 is what we needed, something like that. And so I'm sitting there going like, what are we going to do? And in this case, we tried. And I remember I wrote an email. I can't remember if I've ever actually published this. I started working on it. I thought I published it, but now that I think about it, I don't think I have. But basically it was like, oh crap, what are we going to do? And I ended up having to cancel it. And people, crazy, so like Nathan Lacka was going to be there, Paulo Perverta, Jesse something, Matt Smith, a bunch of I looked at the whole, maybe Adria Richards, a bunch of like at the time nobodies, and now they have a little bit more clout. Nathan has got one of the top podcasts in the country, in the world. But sometimes we just quit on this thing, right? And we did a really bad job marketing it. And I think there was even red flags, and we should have pushed harder, but whatever. I didn't quit though. I quit that concept, and I've never done it again. I'll never try it again, likely. But excuse me, but learned a lot from that, and didn't quit the whole helping the people market their business. And even if you are a marketing professional, you still lose sometimes. Marketing is hard sometimes because you have to ask people to support you. Yeah, I mean, like, it's really weird. So, like, even like with this book recently, like, I felt at times I was begging people, like, yo, please buy a book. Please, please, please. And you like, you don't want to do it, but you like have to do it. And it can be a really difficult thing. So I think I've talked about this a little bit, but last week I had Ryan Williams on the 1004 show, which is my long form podcast that you guys can check out if you just Google Zack Miller Says, Says. My name's Zack Miller. Or if you're listening to this on audio, it's where it is. Just look for the Ryan Williams Influencer Economy piece. As long as you're not watching on live, wherever you're listening to audio, that's where you can find it. And he has this thing called the 3 Badass Stories. And he learned this because he was able to interview Seth Godin, who many believe is one of the top 10 marketers in the world. And what's interesting is as he's interviewing him, he realizes, I guess I can't recall if it's while he's interviewing him or like immediately after, like doing some like more follow up, but he realizes that the stories that Seth Godin are telling are the exact same stories over and over again. And that led Ryan Williams, author of The Influencer Economy, which is a great book, led him to realize that you should have what he calls your 3 badass stories in your pocket at all times. And your badass stories are the 3 stories that you can continue to tell over and over again. And this really makes sense, right? I'm going to try and find he has titles for each of them. But what really makes sense about it is, and I really appreciate this. He says, if you can tell the same stories over and over again, you're able to really hone in and tell that story. And oftentimes you are meeting new people all the time. Why try and come up with new content each and every time when these new people haven't heard of you before? They're learning about you for the first time. So tell your story, those 3 stories over and over again. So he calls them the 3 badass stories. Number 1 is the underdog story. Number 2 is the badass authority. So I think the underdog story is kind of like relating how you've been, at the bottom, and then you came up and you're like, oh, I'm amazing now. A badass story is like, what can you do to teach someone? And your third one is your fixer story, which he calls your problem solver. I actually thought this was so good that when I interviewed him, I was like, oh, I need to add this to the book. So I did. But it really makes a lot of sense. Like if you're telling, like, you're trying to be seen, why try and tell a different story over and over again? And I've probably thought like, oh, I want to create the same content over and over again. So I'm doing 3 talks this week, right? 3 different places. One of them tomorrow, I have to drive an hour and a half. The one on Wednesday, I got to drive an hour from here. And then the other one, probably 30 minutes from where I live, all in kind of different directions, right? All are going to have completely different crowds, right? Probably the same type of person at the crowd, but the content, I'm actually doing the exact same talk 3 times this week. And a lot of it is influenced on Ryan, where I'm like, I got to hone in on this because and some of them are going to be, more people than others. One of them's going to have 100 people. One of them's going to have 40 or 50. So 2 of them, I think, are going to have like 30, 40, 50. And then one of them's going to have like 80 or 100 people. And it's just honing in on the same stuff. And I think it makes a lot of sense, Then other people can tell that, oh, did you hear this thing about Zack Miller or this thing about this person? It just makes a lot of sense. So if you want to be seen, think about saying the same thing over and over again, right? Like I kind of wear, even though today I'm wearing Wistia shirt. No, they did not pay for this, but if Wistia, you want to sponsor the show, you can. It's totally fine. We do use Wistia as a tool. But I wear, like, my hair is almost the same every day. I wear a black shirt, jeans. Actually, my jeans I'm not wearing today. I'm wearing khaki shorts because it's nice out. Took my dog on a walk. That was cool. But my point is this, is tell the same stories over and over again. I mean, if you're getting in front of the same audience, you probably do want to change it up a little bit. But oftentimes you're not. So think about those 3 bad butt stories. It just takes a while to be seen. I'm almost my decade of leaving TV news, right? Wow. That's incredible to think about. I've almost been out of TV news a decade. Wow. It's awesome. Super excited about that. But I've basically been the same person over and over again. And so I have this reputation. I have this clout as this type of person. This person who's, not the status quo, a little different, bold, will speak his mind, and can help you really grow in whatever you're trying to do, typically in business. So if people are telling that story, it's a good thing. But it just takes a long time, especially imagine if you live on a farm and you want to tell that story. Like it just takes a while. Like overnight success doesn't happen, right? Like No Doubt won like best new band, and it was their 10th year of being a band. 23 years ago. God, I'm old. Not everything works. I told you a couple stories that didn't work, right? I remember one time when I got some sort of, I'm trying to remember the exact thing. It's actually when I even opened Hatch for the first time, we were able to land a pretty good deal with the city that I live in, Norfolk, Virginia. And I was talking with the city manager, Marcus Jones. Love that guy. And he, I basically wore what I normally wear. And I remember him saying, "Thanks for not being like everyone else." I was like, that's interesting. Because everyone else would dress up, look in a suit, and I just stayed true to myself. And that was important. But at the end of the day, like, it's about being consistent. Like, tell your message over and over and over again, because that's ultimately what will help people start telling your story over and over and over again. So, episode, what is this, 36? Of Zack Miller Live. So, I think I've told you guys this. I opened up the black book. Wah! The first thing I have, updated shows. What I'm going to do. So, what's coming up? Well, you'll find out soon. And then just some other notes. That's it. All right. Thank you guys for being with me today. Episode 36 of, I think I even just said the 1004 show, which is wrong. Was episode 36 of Zack Miller Live, where I come to you each and every weekday to talk about a topic on my mind to help you grow as a person, a brand, or business. Appreciate the love. If you guys are watching this at a later time and you have questions, feel free to comment, or wherever you're tuning in, feel free to subscribe. Peace and love. Catch ya.